Om Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayed Sarva Vignopashantaye Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Me Sada Yena Akshara Samamnayam Adhigamya Maheshwarat Kritsnam Vyakarnam Proktam Tasmai Baninaye Namaha Bhakyakaram Vararuchim Bhashyakaram Patanjalim Paninim Sutrakarancham Pranatosmi Munitrayam Vagarthaviva Sampriktau Vagarthah Pratipattaye Jagatah Pitaro Vande Parvati Parameshwarao Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om. Chanter Maheshwara Sutra. Om A I Un Rilik E Ong I Ouch Haya Varat Lan Nyama Garnanam Jhabhanya Ghadhadash Jabagadhadash Kapha Chatha Chatatav Kapai Shashasar Hal Iti Maheshwarani Sutrani Om Tip Tasji Sip Tastha Mip Vasmas Ta Atham Ja Thas Atham Dhvam It Vahi Mahinga. Okay, so we're in our Panchavritti. So just pausing for a second. So we saw Panchavritti, there's 5 vrittis. The first that we saw, right? So we're going to see this more today. And so I'll show you what we're going to see. We're going to spend more time with this first vritti, Sanadyanta Dhatu Vrittihi, right? Or another way is saying it, Sanadi Vritti. Okay. The Sanadi pratya, rather, it would be Sanadi pratya, Sanadyanta Vritti. So this is the first one, right? And then we have Kridanta, and then we have Tadditanta, Taddita, and then we have Samasa, and we have Ekashesha. So there's these 5 ways that we can make new words, 5 ways of creating new dhatus. Well, there's only 1 way of creating a new dhatu and 4 ways of creating new pratipadika. But there's 5 ways of creating these new forms, right? So these bunch of vritti. So we got a little bit of just the chutney taste of all 5. Now we're going to start with appetizer. Okay, so that was the salad. Now we're going to have the appetizer. So we're just going to be building on this. I was looking at this and it's quite intense. So there's so many layers we can go into. So we still have to make sure that we're just going to touch it again. Because if we go too far, then we won't get anything. right? So we're still going to, we won't get everything today, so you might still have some questions, but we want to get just an overview of this, okay? So Sanadi pratya, so these are suffixes to make a root, right? So we're making new dhatus. The only way to make new dhatus is with Sanadi pratyaya, right? These suffixes, with starting with san. So they're, right? They're suffixes, and we're adding to a dhatu or subantam padam. I always forget subantam padam, but it can be added to a dhatu or a noun to make a new dhatu, right? So you have a dhatu plus subantam, or dhatu or subantam plus the sanadi pratya, and you'll make a new dhatu here. Okay, we'll make this new dhatu. There's 12 sanadi pratyas. Okay, so there's a list of 12 of them, and Panini lists them in the sutras in Ashtadhyayi. And he defines in those sutras, in Sutra 3132, he defines Sanadi Pratya ending words to be called a dhatu. So this is why we know it's a dhatu, is he said that which ends with the Sanadi Pratya is a dhatu. Okay. So we're not going to look at these 12, but just to see the list, here are the 12. You notice how the list is starting with sun, right? Sanadi. Adi means beginning with sun. So beginning with sun. And there's these 12 that are there, okay? But the 12 looks intimidating. We're only going to really spend time with 2 of them for now. Today, just 1 of them, but really we're for this appetizer, we're going to get 2 of them. Okay. This new dhatu, which anta ends with sanadi pratyaya, is called sanadyanta dhatu. I'm saying this over and over again, so we can't forget this. These sanadi pratyas, okay, so the pratya itself indicates actions related to the dhatu or subantam padam to which they are suffixed. Okay, so it's going to make a new action word. That's why it's making a new dhatu. Okay. These then can be conjugated or transformed. So notice they can be conjugated into verbs now that they're dhatus, or they can be made into kridanta by suffixing krit pratyas. Okay, so a kridantam is when I add a dhatu and I add this krit pratyaya, I make a noun, right? So what I can do is, now that I have a new dhatu, I can add a krit pratyaya, by the way, and I can make a noun out of this new dhatu. So we can make vrittis out of vrittis. Okay, so it's endless. Okay. We're going to look at 6 things. We don't need to read this list, but there's 6 things we're going to be looking at for each of these. And so let's look at the first one. I don't want to spend too much time. We're going to look at the first sanadi pratyaya. Is called Ṇic. Okay, Ṇic. So murdanya nakara, so your tongue is going to go up. Ṇic. Okay, so Ṇic pratyaya. We call that nijantaha. Nijantaha. Okay, so the Ṇic ending dhatu is commonly called nijanta, that which ends with Ṇic. Notice how chakara becomes jakara because of a sandhi rule, but anta ends with Ṇic. Okay, that dhatu is called nijanta. So Ṇic is suffixed to a dhatu to make a new dhatu. So Ṇic is only added to dhatus. Why we're starting with this is because this is very common. We see this a lot. We see Ṇic. Okay, so you'll hear a teacher, a traditional teacher, depending on, usually not in public classes, but in a little bit more advanced classes, they'll talk a little bit of grammar, and they'll say that this is Nijanta, or Ṇic, has Ṇic involved. Okay. Okay, there's 6 things we need to know. The first is what sense or what meaning does it bring? Okay. The meaning that it brings is a cause. It's causative. Okay, what does this mean? Ṇic is to make somebody do something. To make or cause to somebody to do. Okay? So if I want to say, I want to make you cook or make you clean, I will use Ṇic. Okay, to make somebody do something. We'll see some examples in a moment. Okay, there is one exception, is that Ṇic is suffixed to dhatus in the 10th conjugation. It does not give the meaning of cause. Okay, so but that's beyond us for now. Okay, we do need to remember that it makes somebody do something. Okay, now Ṇic, the content, when we have Ṇic, we only add ikara to the word. Okay, we only add ikara. We have 2 it letters. Okay, do you remember what it letter is? It letter is these indicatory letters, right? And here we have 2, right? We have murdanya nakara and we have chakara. Okay, those go away, and all you're left with is E. Okay. You don't need to know the sutra, but this is why it's it the letter. It tells you why. This nakara, there's reasons for it letters also. Okay. So we don't need to remember this now, but just to know that this nakara, this na it or nit, allows for vriddhi to happen on anga. Okay. So it has this meaning where it causes vriddhi here. Okay. So in this context. This chakara is just for intonation. So when you're chanting these, traditionally when they chanted, they had certain intonations, certain swaras and things. And so you would know where the sutras and things end. So we've lost that sense of chanting. So we don't know, but that is what is traditionally said. Okay, I'll take the question in a moment. I'm just going to finish this page. Okay. So being nit pratya, so it's not just vriddhi. We say vriddhi, but there's one more exception to that. But so nit, it can have vriddhi or guna. Okay. I'll explain what that means. We might have vriddhi or guna. And here's something to know: when the dhatu is a ending, we can add pakara sometimes. Okay, so for example, nya plus ṇic, I get this pakara and then e, right? So ņāpi. When it ends with akara, you get this extra pa addition. So nya plus pa, and then ṇic, which is this e, so ņāpi. Okay, sta dhatu, sta plus ṇic, it ends with akara, so I had a pa in the middle. Sta plus pa, stop, and then e for ṇic, stapi. Okay. So that's what I wanted to show. So first of all, so just recapping what we've said so far. So ṇic, this is to make somebody do something. When you want to make somebody do something, you add ṇic. The content is just ikara. And because of the it letters, you can get guna or vriddhi sometimes. Vriddhi, and then if vriddhi doesn't happen, you get guna. And sometimes you have pakara when it's a ending. Okay, so that's a lot of information. So let me, Harprasadji, I know you have a question.
Yes, Mahodaya. Now, two questions. One is, when you say the 10th conjugation, are you referring to the 10th lakara?
10th gana. So there's the dhatus are grouped into 10 groups.
Right.
You know how we say 1p, 2p, 3p. Yes. So the 10th gana of dhatus, we add Ṇic to those, but it doesn't give the this causative sense. When you add it to the 10th gana of dhatus, you don't get this extra meaning there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I thought only the lakaras can be conjugated, not the ganas.
Yeah, so we're not using the word conjugation the same. It just so I think get rid of the word conjugation and instead replace it with gana.
Okay.
So dhatus in the 10th gana,
okay,
they don't have that causative sense.
Okay, all right. Oh, I forgot. I had one more question. It's okay.
Okay, yeah, let me know if you think of it again.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The other question is, the it letter is usually the one letter, which is the last one of that particular sutra. So how can it have two letters?
Yeah, so we're going to look at rules at some point, that there's rules to tell which letters become it. So there are rules for that. And you'll see a lot of them have 2 or 3 letters, which are it letter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is not just one letter then.
It's not just one letter. In our Maheshwara Sutra, you just have that last indicatory letter, but for this, you can have more than one.
Okay. Dhanyavada.
Yes. Okay. So how this new dhatu is treated. Okay, so now we're making a new dhatu. This nejanta dhatu is ubhayapadi. Okay, meaning that it can go atmanepadi or parasmaipadi, depending on the speaker. Okay, so it's ubhayapadi. It can go both. When conjugating, the new dhatu is treated like first gana. Okay, the first group, which good thing we're familiar with first gana, bhavati, gacchati, etc. These are all first gana dhatus. Okay, 1p, 1a. This is what we're talking about. So these will be treated like that. In first gana, usually you get an akara added after the dhatu. So this will happen here as well. Okay. And as I said earlier, because it's a dhatu, you can add a krit pratyaya as well, right? And you can make it a kridanta word. But so I'm saying a lot of things. Get what you can. All we need to know is e, Ṇic is left over e. It's causative. Okay. Let's look at an example now. So for example, to make a new dhatu, indicating an action, to make somebody do, right? I want to make somebody do something. I'm a very bossy person, so this is what I think of, right? I want to make somebody do something. So Ṇic is suffix to dhatu kr, to do, right? I want to make somebody do. So I add it to kr. Okay, now don't worry about all of this. This is too many words, okay? Basically what happens is dhatu becomes kari. Okay, and I'll show you how that happens. The new dhatu becomes kari. Okay, so kr, to do, plus Ṇic, to make someone do. Kari is to make somebody do. So you see how Ṇic adds that to make somebody. So to make somebody cook, to make somebody write, to make somebody, etc. Right? To here it's to make somebody do. Just a blanket statement. Kr becomes kari. Now let's see how that happens. Okay, it's a little tricky. But kr plus Ṇic, right? So Ṇic in the sense of causative is suffixed to dhatu kr. By adding this becomes an anga. So when I add a suffix, the dhatu gets the new status of anga. Okay. Because there we have these two it letters, na and cha, so those will go away, and I'm just left with e. Right? Kr plus e. Now, Ṇic can cause, because that murdanya nakara is the it letter, we can cause riddhi. Okay, so we're gonna repeat this many times, but nit, this nakara it, nit, can cause riddhi in the anga. Okay, so what does that mean? I'll show you in a second, but the r is a vowel, and r when it takes riddhi becomes a, so it becomes ka, and then you have to add a refa, so it becomes kad. I'll pull it up on the screen in a moment, but kr with riddhi becomes kad. Okay, so kad plus e is kari, meaning to make somebody do. Okay, this is one example of Ṇic. So if we want to remember Guna and Riddhi, okay, I know this is just a refresher, but Gunaha and Riddhihi are technical names. They're given to certain vowels. Okay, so I know we talk about Guna Sandi and Riddhi Sandi, but we're not in the context of Sandi, really. Okay, Guna and Riddhi are technically names for these vowels. Okay. In Guna Sandi, what happens is that Guna, those vowels replace something. Okay. But here we just need to remember that there's these vowels are called Guna and Riddhi. So a, o are termed Guna. A, o are termed Riddhi. A, o or Guna, and then you add another feather to each of them, and a, o are termed Riddhi. So you have this on the screen there. Okay. So usually, as we said, right, they come in Sandi, but they also happen when these pratya, when the stem, so the dhatu or whatever we're adding, the stem can take guna or riddhi when we add suffixes. This is what we're doing right now. Okay, so here's an example. So if I have short ikara, short ukara, short r, this is what happens. So if I have guna, it becomes a. If I have guna of e, or riddhi of e, it becomes I. U becomes o when we do guna, or u becomes o when you have riddhi. This r vowel, guna becomes, it's just technically just akara, because there's only 3 letters, right? In guna, a, o, it just becomes akara, but there's a special rule for this vowel r, that we have to add a refa, this rakara, at the end. So it becomes ar. Okay? Riddhi is a, o. So it becomes a, that's the closest. But then you have to add this refa, so it becomes ar. So kr If I want to make kr and riddhi takes place, it becomes kar. And then I have e from ṇic, so kari is the new dhatu to make somebody do. Okay. Okay, now this is going to be a little bit too complicated, so I'm going to just make it short. So if you have questions, just hold them to the end, okay? So now what happens is we can conjugate them, meaning we can make different forms out of it in present tense, in active voice. So lat lakara kartri prayoga, we have karayati, karayataha, karayanti. And I'll show you how you make it. Okay, this is in lot lakara, you have karayatu, etc. Because now you have a new dhatu, kari. Okay. So you can add it in any lakara. Here's an example of when we're just doing lat lakara. So I have this kari and I'm adding lat lakara, right? Remember we had tip, tas, ji, sip, tas, tha, right? So I'm going to add third one, tip, to this because I want to make somebody do. So kari plus ti, this pakara is it. Okay. And remember when I said when we're in the first gana, we added akara. Okay, the original form for akara is shap. Okay, you don't need to know that. So let's just skip to number 5. Kari plus a plus ti. Okay, originally it's shap, technically, but shap becomes akara. So kari plus a plus ti. Okay, are you still with me? Am I on a different planet? Okay, you're still with me? Okay. No, not really. Okay. Okay, all we're doing is, we've kari, we had an akara, and we have tiptasji, right? We're adding a ti. Third one. Okay, that much. So join me at number 5. If you didn't follow number 1 to 4, that's fine. Join me at 5. Here it gets a bit funny. This shap or this akara causes guna to the anga. Okay. So ikara becomes a. Guna is a. So kare. Kare plus a plus ti. Kare plus a plus ti. And then we do have to do vowel sandi. This ayadi sandi, ayavayava sandi. It becomes karayati. Okay, so I know not everyone followed, that's okay. What we need to see is 2 things. One is that all of these that we're going to see, ikara will finally become ai. Okay, so even though the dhatu ends with e, in the actual verb, you'll see ai. How that happened is because of this, what we saw, right? But how do you identify a niche? If there was a niche there, you'll see this ai in the middle of it. Okay. Because no matter what we're doing, you're going to be seeing e next to an a plus next to a ti. So it's always going to be a ti and then a ti. So ayati is going to be for any niche endings. Ayati. Ayati, ayataha, ayanti. Okay. So let's look at some other examples, okay? So we've kr plus ṇic. Okay. Kr plus ṇic. Notice how I'm blocking out some of the things because some of the things is extra information. Okay. So I don't want to overwhelm us. So I'm blocking out some of it. you'll see these yellow strips. They're not in your book, but they're on my screen. Kr plus nicch, we make kari, karayati. Ayati, right? Kad to eat. Okay. Now, if my mother was here, what would she do? She would make me eat. So it's not that she's eating, but she's making me eat. Okay. So it's a different action. So kad plus nicch is kadi. You know how we just add ikara, kadi. Now, when I make it into third one, lat lakara katri prayoga pratama purusha ekavachanam, I add that ayati, kadayati. So kadati would mean they or he, she, it eats. Kadayati means he, she, it makes somebody eat. Okay, doesn't mean they're eating, they're making somebody. Gum plus nicch, gami, right? What is that in ikara? I'm not going, I'm making somebody go. So I would say, not I, but he makes somebody go, she makes somebody go, gamayati. Gamayati, ayati. Right? So gamayati. Nya, remember when I said it ends with the akara, we have to add a pa. But if the dhatu ends with the a, we have to add an extra pa. So it becomes nyapi. To make somebody know. So the teacher, nyapayati, makes this person know, makes me know. Nyapayati. Okay, drish. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of them, but I wanted you to see these forms. Okay, let's look at some other sentences. We only have a few more minutes left. So just so we can see where it shows up, right? In Gita, for example, Sena Yorubayor Madhe Pratham Stapya Mechuta. So first chapter, Bhagavan's or Arjuna says, Bhagavan, may you place my chariot in between the two armies. Okay, but I don't have a verb here. I have stapaya. Okay, this is stapi, and then I have a kridanta after it. Okay, so this is a little bit beyond this. So I shouldn't have shown that first. But we know twa and liep, right? So here we see stapayatwa. So you can have stapi, and I can add twa at the end. So having placed. Let's look at some simpler examples. So chal dhatu, chalayati. Vayuhu, shakaha, chalayati. Aham jnana deepena tamaha nashayami. Okay, nashayami. I make someone, I make destroyed, right? So I'm destroying something. I make something to be destroyed. I'm making to be destroyed. What am I destroying? Tamaha, darkness. How? Jnana deepena, by the light of knowledge. Dehi nakaroti nakarayati. This is all like similar to what comes up in the Gita. The indweller, the Atma, does not do or does not make anybody do. Does not cause anybody do. So this comes in the Gita where they say kam gati, kam hanti or ghatayati. Atma does not kill or to make anybody kill. So you see how these forms show up in our Shastra. Karoti karyati, katam sapurushaha kam gatayati. Okay, so we'll continue with this. I know that we're just touching this, but I wanted to show some examples of nijanta, niche ending words. I will point them out if they come up in our Bhagavad Gita classes as well, now that you know. So no one else will know what I'm saying when I say nijanta, but I will say it if it comes up, okay? We will see maybe a few more, and then in the next class, we'll see san pratya, right? Because it's sanadi pratya, we should start with san, but niche is so popular, we see niche first, and then san. Okay, but the list starts with sun, so we'll see that in our next class. Okay. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om.